Recently, during another Capitol Hill butt-kissing session between our Silicon Valley overlords and the clueless government hacks being unwittingly goaded into submission by a growing stranglehold on free speech, Nick Pickles, who handles public policy for Twitter, argued this doozy of hypocrisy for all to witness.
How can Nicolas Maduro, who is committing genocide against his citizens, who is withholding clean water, food, medicine, still have a Twitter account with 3.7 million followers?
Well, you rightly highlight that the behavior that's been taken there is abhorrent. And the question for us as a public company that provides a public space for dialogue is someone breaking our rules on our service? We hope that the dialogue that person being on the platform starts helps contribute to solving the challenges that you outline.
But he's been doing it for a long time, and it's not getting better in Venezuela. It's getting worse.
And I think this is a good illustration of how the role of technology companies, along with other parts of public policy responses, if we removed that person's account, it would not change facts on the ground. And so we need to bear in mind how do the other levers come into play?
I completely disagree. Right. Maduro gets there and sits there and talk about things and continue to act like he's a world leader and he's a pariah. And it sure seems to me that what you're doing is allowing him to continue to do that.
Well, as I say, his current account hasn't broken our rules. Were he to break our rules, he would be treated to the same rules as every other user, and we would take action where necessary.
No, Venezuelan dictator Maduro hasn't violated anything, unless you count the fact that he has committed crimes against humanity according to an OAS and Amnesty International report during his presidency that has morphed into a dictatorship, spotlighting that over 9,000 Venezuelans have been executed for resisting his authority, as his security forces have committed 22% of the country's homicides, while over 4 million have been forced to flee the country due to living conditions that resemble total chaos, or that he modified the Constitution to stay in power. No, Maduro is a great guy, according to the Trump haters over in Silicon Valley.
Why are people who protest you end up either dead or in jail?
Estás mintiendo, Tomás.
Maduro calling me a liar, saying I, quote, lie like President Trump.
As the inquisition against truth continues, led by Silicon Valley and the ADL. Elsewhere on Capitol Hill,
use of the word hilarious. To me, this feels a lot like your reaction to being named in one of these manifestos. Now, you're of course not responsible for the words of somebody writing that document, but I do think that laughing at it is a real problem.
I believe, Ms. Owens, when you used the word hilarious, it was referencing the fact that no one had asked you a question. It wasn't to the subject matter of the hearing. Is that right?
That is correct.
And to have another witness insinuate something that is not accurate is just not appropriate, Mr. Chairman, for how witnesses are supposed to behave in front of this committee.
Yes, and you just tried to do live what the media does all the time to Republicans, to our president, and to conservatives, which you tried to manipulate what I said to fit your narrative. And the audacity of you to bring up the Christchurch shooting manifesto and make it seem as if I laughed at people that were slaughtered by a homicidal maniac is, in my opinion, absolutely despicable. And I think that we should be above that. To try to assign reality or any meaning to a homicidal maniac writing a manifesto, which, by the way, let the record show, also stated Spyro the Dragon, the child's cartoon, as a source of inspiration. He also cited Nelson Mandela as a source of information. I don't think that Nelson Mandela has inspired mosque shootings. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong. You would rather assign meaning to a homicidal maniac than to actually address the things that I said today that are actually harming Black America. Number one, father absence. Number two, the education system and the illiteracy rate. Illegal immigration ranks high, abortion ranks high, white supremacy and white nationalism, if I had to make a list again of 100 things, would not be on it. This hearing, in my opinion, is a farce. And it is ironic that you're sitting here and you're having 3 Caucasian people testify and tell you what their expertise are. Do I know what my expertise are? Black in America. I've been Black in America my whole life, all 30 years, and I can tell you that you guys have done the exact same thing every 4 years ahead of an election cycle, and it needs to stop.
Clearly, Congress is inept to deal with a totalitarian digital cancer circumventing the rights of all Americans in regard to free speech. A blatant indication that we no longer reside in a republic, but toil under the boot of a corpratocracy. John Bowne reporting.